Welcome on in, everybody. We're now halfway through 2024, and there's no better way to celebrate it than listing the best movies of 2024 so far. But before I get started, I have a quick word of thanks that I want to give to all of you guys right now. I want to thank everybody who has subscribed, liked, and commented to my channel so far this year. My goal for 2024 is to get to 500 subscribers, and I'm definitely over halfway there for the first half of the year, so I want to say thank you. And anybody else who's finding this video, if you like TV show reviews like The Bear, or The House of Dragon, The Boys, if you like reality TV type reviews, I'm doing Big Brother type reviews all summer long, on top of my regular movie type reviews coverage and special movie project videos. Like and subscribe to the channel, but I really just want to come out here and thank everybody who has liked, subscribed, and commented on these videos, because I am motivated more than ever because of all you guys this year to make this hobby kind of successful and something I keep doing throughout the year. So without further ado, let's talk about my best 20 movies of 2024 so far. Now, before I go too far into this list, I have a few things I want to get off the bat. One, this is going to be a 20 movie list. It's not going to be a simple top 10, and it's not going to be ranked. I'm doing these films in alphabetical order. You might ask, why are there so many movies, and why is it not ranked? Why is it in alphabetical order? Well, because at the end of every year, I do my own award ceremony called the Joshkers, and my Best Picture category has 10 nominations, so I don't want to spoil any of those movies that will be in that place halfway through the year. But also, there's 20 amazing movies out that I think that came out this year that anybody can go and see. One other thing I want to say is, if you're somebody who is wondering why are there Oscar movies from last season on here, these are the movies I saw in 2024. So there will be movies on there that were nominated for Oscars this last year that technically came out in 2023, but because I didn't see them until 2024, they don't count till 2024 for me. But without further ado, let's go over the top 20 movies of 2024 for me. First up on this list is a movie that just came out this weekend, A Quiet Place Day One. This intensive prequel movie to the Quiet Place franchise was able to deliver a really genuine, heartfelt story from Sam, played by Lupita Nyong'o, and Eric, played by Joseph Quinn. In the early days of the alien invasion with these creatures that can really only hear, they can't see, we go on this journey with Sam and figuring out what's going on with her life and what she's wanting to do. And there's really great moments between her, Eric, and their individual struggles. There's a really just great character dynamic with Sam and her cat. And overall, the visual effects and the thrills of this movie lived up to expectations. And as one I could not recommend more to people who are looking for just a good character story filled in with some horror elements, A Quiet Place Day One. All of Us Strangers is a movie coming from Britain that I ended up loving quite a lot. Andrew Scott is the lead here as Adam, and he's somebody who's kind of going through his own trouble in life and looking back at his relationship with his parents, as well as his relationship with somebody who lives in his same apartment complex, played by Paul Mescal, whose name is Harry. And this is a beautiful movie that is just carried time and time again by Scott's performance, and really has a lot of twists and turns, and just is a great character study overall. It is definitely one of those movies you're going to be crying at, and it's going to be one you want to pay attention to, but All of Us Strangers is a movie that I cannot recommend enough for people, because it just has that level of action and that level of character development and writing, and I'm somebody who figured out the twist maybe at the end, but I really did enjoy it. The Bike Riders is a movie that's out in theaters right now, will hit streaming very soon, but it's led by a trio of actors that deliver just such a great performance, of Austin Butler as Benny, Jodie Comer as Kathy, and Tom Hardy as Johnny. Here we kind of get a detailed look into the 1960s, 1970s gang in Chicago, led by, Hardy's Johnny character, and Johnny and Kathy's fight over Benny's loyalties, and just overall what's going on as this biker club turns gang as the years go on. This gives great character performances, I think has some decent action scenes, and delivers, I think, 3 great acting performances between Hardy, Comer, and Butler. And it's a movie that I really, really, really enjoyed and can't recommend enough to people who like movies from this area and really like character kind of drama pieces. The dystopian future in Civil War may not be making big political statements on right-wing and left-wing politics as people may like, but it is taking us through, I think, a really interesting journey into what modern war may look like in our country and what it looks like in the rest of the world through the photojournalist team filled up by Jesse, Lee Smith, and Joel, played by Callie Spaney, Kirsten Dunst, and Wagner Moura. In here as well, we have Stephen McKinley playing Sammy, and this movie was just haunting beyond all belief. The action at the end, I think, lives up to expectations, and there's a great encounter with Jesse Plemons' character that I think makes this whole movie work at the highest level. I love Kaylee Spaney throughout the whole entire movie. She gives one of my favorite performances of the year, and even Kirsten Dunst's lead character here, I think, is solid throughout. Civil War might not be an easy watch, but I think it's a powerful and must watch for anybody else, and that is why it's in my top 20 list for the best of 2024 so far. One of the most popular movies of the year is Dune Part 2, and yes, it is in my best movies of 2024 list. No real surprise here. Really led by an amazing cast. Austin Butler again, Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, Florence Pugh, Rebecca Ferguson. The list goes on and on and on. And, people like Javier Bardem is stealing the show for me. Even Timothée Chalamet, I think, levels up here as an actor. But Zendaya is my personal standout, and I love the character of Chani and where she was willing to go. I think Austin Butler as Thade Rothra came in and delivered an outstanding villainy-type performance. And the visuals of this movie, the score of this movie, everything about Dune Part 2 is epic, and there's no two ways about it. It has to be on a list of the best movies of 2024 so far. If you haven't seen this yet, do yourself a favor and go find a way to watch Dune Part 2, whether on streaming, whether in a theater somewhere. This movie is outstanding and it is one to recognize for the year so far. The Fall Guy might have led the summer season here for movies and not in the best way, but I can't help but love this movie throughout. I thought characters like Hannah Waddingham's character, Winston Dukes' character, as well as Stephanie Hsu in this movie, delivered just really great acting and side characters throughout that really help support Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt in their two lead roles. I think Ryan Gosling here is able to not just do some great stunts, and his stunt workers do great stunts, but his comedy is so great. The relationship between him and Blunt works so well for me, and I'm somebody that really appreciates all of the little things that go on in this movie to make it feel just unique and a love letter to the stunt casters. And everybody who performed in this movie, everybody who was involved with this movie, I gotta give a big round of applause. I'm somebody who loved The Fall Guy. I think if you're looking for just a fun, easygoing action comedy with some awesome stunts, you cannot go with The Fall Guy this year. As far as my big surprise for 2024 goes, it has to be The First Omen. This movie, which was really led by a outstanding top-level performance from Nell Tiger-Free as Margaret, not just delivered, I think, some decent horror, but told a really great story and compelling story throughout. Even though you kind of know how this may end up when it comes with the First Omen maybe being born, you're really able to break down everything that's going on, the motivations and feelings of every character. Really leaves a lot of questions and just gives a great aesthetic throughout. The period piece worked for me, and this was a movie that I was intently engaged with the whole entire time. Ralph Anderson as Father Brennan worked very well, and I honestly was terrified of Bill Nighy's Cardinal Lawrence. This is the movie that you might not have checked out, but this is probably one that if you're a horror fan or you like the original Omen, you need to go and see it because the first Omen delivered 100% and is a movie I recommend a lot. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, delivers once again another intense, from beginning to end film from George Miller in the Mad Max universe. Not lost on me is Chris Hemsworth as Dementus, giving an amazing adversary performance as obviously Dementus here, where he gives so many different range, and the character ends up being a lot more deeper than I thought, even as I'm watching the movie. Anya Taylor-Joy as Furiosa, as well as Isla Brown as Furiosa, bring two incredible performances to this character that is able to be nuanced, is able to be quiet but stern, and is really just developing Furiosa in a much better way. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, is a movie that I really loved this year, and if you haven't seen it yet, you need to give yourself time because this one lives up to expectations for me. John Krasinski's next directorial movie was more childlike and less quiet-like with If. And If, for me, is a movie that just delivers on all different type of levels, whether it be Krasinski as a father, Ryan Reynolds as the friend who is helping this imaginary friends find their place, or a main character played by Callie Fleming, that is the young daughter of John Krasinski trying to find a home for all these imaginary friends. Throughout the whole entire movie, You have these different voice actors playing great, imaginary friends of different characters. And this is just a really good, heartfelt movie that was able to deliver a Pixar-type message while also being live-action, creative, and funny. Speaking of Pixar, Inside Out 2, our first billion-dollar movie of the year and savior of the box office for most, delivered an amazing story and performance led none other than by Maya Hawke as Anxiety and Amy Poehler as Joy. The cast is pretty much all back outside a couple individuals leaving. This delivers, I think, a really great, story of Riley kind of going through her teen years and really going from, middle school to high school and all the different type of stresses that come with that, mixed in with a little bit of athletics and a few other things all around. I think if you're somebody who really loved the first movie, this one delivers in a lot of different ways. And if you're just a fan of Pixar movies in general that tell really good stories, Inside Out 2 delivers. And I think that's why it's able to be that billion-dollar movie for Pixar in a year where most movies are underperforming. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes takes us on this interesting fast-forward story in the Planet of the Apes franchise. Owen Teague, kind of playing Noah here, goes on this incredible journey of trying to save his family and tribe from a fellow ape raiding group that kind of took them into captivity. Along the way, he meets both Raka and May, one human, one orangutan, giving kind of the light and inspiration for Caesar and telling his message, and learning that May may not be as simple and, dumb as he had thought in the world. In this, though, May plays a great job, played by Freya Allen, does a great job of blurring the lines on if she's good, is she bad, and Kevin Durant plays an amazing Proximus Caesar, a villain that you kind of could agree with when you look at things a certain way. Overall, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes really delivers a fun story in this franchise, and really connects you down at a character level in a way that I really much enjoyed, and I think if you're a fan of the original Planet of the Apes, you very much will enjoy Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes that came out earlier this year. Love's Lies Bleeding. What an interesting, fascinating movie. Led by Kirsten Stewart and Katie O'Brien, supported by Anna Baryshnikov and Ed Harris. This movie tells of Lou, who is kind of a reclusive, manager of a gym that is the daughter of this potential, gangster in this area of the world, coming across Katie O'Brien's Jackie, a young woman who on her way to the World Bodybuilding Championship that she's been working towards her in her recent life. We find out so much about Jackie Lou and even Lou Sr. in this troubled tale in Troubled Town that just has so many twists and turns and makes so many different artistic, leaps and choices to tell a great story. Inside here also is Dave Franco as JJ, playing an interesting side character role, the brother of Lou, and what an interesting, fascinating movie this ended up being, and I love the acting from both Stewart, O'Brien, and Harris through the whole entire movie. If you like movies like The Big Lebowski or most Coen brother movies, I think you would really like Love's Lies Bleeding, and for me, it easily made my top 20 so far of the year. Dev Patel made his directorial debut with Monkey Man, this action thriller that was very, very much inspired and can kind of see side by side as a Bollywood type film. Really gives you a John Wick meet hand-to-hand, classic hand-to-hand combat type movie mixed with some, I would say, Bollywood flair. Dev's character of Kid goes through such an interesting revenge plot throughout and is able to do so many different things and have a variety of characters who are inspiring him, who are working him, and all these other stuff. I think the visuals in Monkey Man are just outstanding, and it really delivers, I think, both a heartfelt, connecting story as well as just an action-packed, political drama, and it really makes you realize the world outside of the U.S. is not as lovely and peaceful and as nice as we like to believe, and really gives you light into what it is actually like in India in current day. Origin's the first movie I think I'm talking about that was able to be up for the Oscars last year, but I didn't get a chance to see until this year. And man, was this a great movie. Locked down in the center by Anjuan Ellis Taylor as Isabel, a anthropologist kind of looking to figure out the origins of some of the most hateful and divided things in the world. Really focusing heavily at first on slavery and just civil rights, racism, but expanding onto things like what happened during World War II, things in India, and things throughout history and the root cause of it. And this movie, I just think, does a great job of delving into all these issues, really explaining the different thought processes and making the connections that, are tying all these events together. And if you're somebody who loves just looking back at history and trying to connect dots and just understanding the human experience and what humans feel, Origin is going to deliver a great watch for you. And again, Taylor delivers just an Oscar-level performance throughout this whole entire movie as Isabel, and I am so happy to actually have had the chance to see this movie and give it all its flowers. If you haven't seen Origin yet, I cannot help but recommend it to you to watch. It is one of the most must-watch movies I've seen this year. Speaking of movies that were up for Oscars this last year, Society of the Snow is a thriller, deep, kind of disturbing film to watch, telling a story based in 1972 of a Uruguayan flight that crashes in the Andes, and the survivors basically having to do all they can to survive and just live through this experience. If you're a person that loves these really pushing humans to the limit type stories, Society of the Snow delivers that throughout. And whether you watch it in the original language of Spanish or you watch a dub, everything on Netflix here was done very, very well. I do recommend watching the original language in Spanish. It's amazing, powerful performances throughout, and really just a haunting tale that will stick with you for at least a few weeks. But anytime you think about the movie, you will think about some of the haunting things you see inside Society of the Snow. And it's just a well-made, all put-together movie that I am happy I watched, but I don't know if I'm ever going to want to watch it again. The movie on this list you may never have heard of, even though it was an Oscar nomination, is The Teacher's Lounge. This finally got it to play for me one weekend at my local theater, I want to say sometime in February, and I absolutely adored and loved this movie. It has a crisp hour-and-a-half type runtime, and is able to tell this amazing kind of story where a teacher is expecting, one of her students has caused theft, and everything kind of goes downhill from there in terms of who actually did the theft, who didn't do the theft, the teacher's relationship with both the kids and the rest of the staff, and just the whole mystery around it all together. You get comedy, you get some drama to it, you get some really great performances like from Leonie Benish, who plays Carla, the main actress in this, but even the kids all throughout this were stellar throughout. If you're looking for just a easygoing, fun movie that you may never give a chance because it is a foreign language, German language type film, I cannot recommend The Teacher's Lounge enough. This was a engaging, fun movie from beginning to end that had some stellar performances and felt kind of unique to when it comes to movies outside of the standard formula that we get all the time in the US. Oh, Thelma. I just got a chance to watch this as recently as yesterday, June 29th, and this movie was nothing but smiles for me. June Squibb, 94 years old, acting in her first ever leading role as a grandmother who got conned $10,000 but wants to go get that money back. This movie is able to deliver, I think, some fun action for actors of that age in their 90s, as well as deliver, I think, a really great story of all angles when it comes to elderly people and how they're treated by society and family. Squibb, already nominated originally for an Oscar for Nebraska, delivers not just a funny performance and some interesting action performances, but delivers a lot of heartfelt moments and a lot of moments that make you think and connect with. Richard Roundtree, as well as Ben, her kind of accomplished throughout the movie, is just an amazing foil and counteracting kind of what Thelma wants, and you see his want and his side. But Thelma is a movie that I think is just an easy crowd pleaser. If you're thinking about going to see a movie that is easy to fun in theaters, don't go for something maybe as easygoing and as obvious as, say, Inside Out 2. Go to Thelma because it's a great time, and I think it tells a lot of great moments. It makes you think and feel a little bit more than you expect. But yeah, Thelma. Just could not believe how good this movie was. Want to know one way I will love your movie from the start? Cast Olivia Colman. And that's exactly what happened here in Wicked Little Letters. This very small, very quick-based British comedy film where Olivia Colman's character of Edith are getting these horribly written wicked little letters that just call her the worst things in the world, and she's blaming her next-door neighbor Rose, who's played by Jessie Buckley, a very outspoken immigrant that loves to have some artistic language. In here, we also have some great performances from Alicia Weir, Anjana Vazan, and more. And this movie I thought was just very funny throughout. I thought it had really interesting commentary choices, and Coleman and Buckley eat up the screen left and right. If you like British comedy type movies, if you like a little bit of a mystery, watch Wicked Little Letters. I think it delivers on all of that and more. Maybe it's time we allow Daisy Ridley to come back as a main actress on the movie screen. Young Woman in the Sea, telling the story of Trudy Ederle, the first woman to swim across the English and French Channel, delivers such great performances all around, but none more from Ridley herself. You're able to go on such a different story than the one we had from Naiad the previous year, and it gives you great time period feels here. It tells you a lot about how recently it was that women were treated as more objects and things you can trade, and less about individuals who can provide for themselves and do incredible things for themselves. Throughout this whole movie, I had nothing but kind of smiles, as the period piece is something I love throughout, and I'm a sucker for a good sports story. So if you like a little bit of sports, if you like kind of time period pieces, I can't recommend Young Woman in the Sea enough, and it was one of my favorite films so far this year. The Holocaust was a horrible event, and it has really been done a ton by movies and media, but none more in a more haunting way for me recently than The Zone of Interest. Led very much by Sandra Hüller's character of Hedwig, we get to kind of experience this family of a Nazi officer who lives next to Auschwitz. And just the hauntingness of this family living a normal life on the opposite side of the wall of one of the worst containment camps ever in just the history of the world is haunting, is powerful, and is something that will be something I live with for a while now. The directing from Jonathan Glazer was outstanding. The score at the end is haunting and something I will remember. And overall, this is a movie that just does everything as artistically right as possible. It's not an easy watch, but it's not meant to be. And it's just, yeah, The Zone of Interest is one that will stick with me forever. It's definitely one of the best films I've seen so far in 2024. Well, there we have it. My 20 best movies of 2024 so far. Put your favorite ones so far in the comments and tell me which ones you agree with and which ones I got wrong. But I can't wait to talk to you more for the rest of this year about movies. So again, like and subscribe to the channel, and thank you everybody who checks out my videos. And yeah, I appreciate you all, and let's get back to the movie theater and watch some more movies.